Hello guys and welcome back. Today I'm going over everything we know about Promethea, which is speculated to be a planet in Borderlands 3, but maybe even the main central hub planet of the game, which I will explain more in detail later on in the video. So with that, let's get right into it. So the first mention of Promethea comes from Borderlands 1, where we learned that the weapon manufacturer Atlas first found the Eridian technology, and Eridian is the name of the alien type species that's in Borderlands 1, and they make all the vaults. Presumably through the opening of a vault is how they get the technology on Promethea, but we actually don't get too many details on that event, so that's a little bit of speculation. And it even kind of sounds crazy that you can actually open a vault and it just had loot in it, and technology and knowledge. Because we really haven't seen that. In Borderlands 1 we saw a monster, in Borderlands 2 we saw a monster, so a vault with loot sounds pretty great. And it could also be the first vault to be found in the Borderlands universe with loot in it, not counting the awful vault from the Torg DLC. So there's probably more vaults with really cool just loot, no monster. So Atlas was able to use the technology or knowledge they found and reverse engineer it in order to improve their own weapons and technology, which explains why they were able to overpower the other weapon manufacturers in the universe, most notably Dahl, and why their weapons were so strong in Borderlands 1. And that makes sense. After Atlas found this technology, they wanted to go explore more planets in the universe to find more vaults, and Atlas could kind of bully around the other manufacturers when they were looking. Also, Roland was also mentioned as being on Promethea, which was stated by General Knox on having served 2 terms on Promethea. This information actually comes out of the General Knox Twitter account, which is an official Gearbox account that was used to promote the General Knox DLC before Gearbox decided to switch over to the EchoCast Twitter. And that account is still up there, so if you guys want to check it out, there's actually a lot of cool stuff, answered a lot of questions. But the direct quote reads, quote, "Roland, I remember him, did 2 tours of Prometheus before wearing his guilt like a sundress," end quote. And assuming that Atlas doesn't want any other company to have the technology, we assume that they still have a strong military presence on the planet, but probably to the extent of protecting the vault most likely. And that's one thing that you guys just have to remember, that even though Atlas, we put a huge hole in their operation on Pandora, it doesn't mean that they're going to be out of the picture completely. It's a huge universe, and I assume that they're still out there somewhere. And they're still obviously probably protecting the vault that started it all, and any other vaults that they have. So it'd be really cool to see some crazy infrastructure and some crazy Atlas tech all secured around the vault, and if we have to kind of like sneak break in or guns blazing. There's a lot of stuff Gearbox could do with this. It was also mentioned at T-Bone Junction when we hear that compared to Pandora, Promethea is supposed to be way worse in terms of living conditions for the people. The message on the radio says, quote, "At least you're not on Promethea," which is just another thing world building saying, hey, you think Pandora's bad? Wait till you get to Promethea. Then there was the sniper rifle in Borderlands 2 called the Morning Star that states, quote, "There are children on Promethea who can't afford ammo, you know." Which is just another thing, more world building, more just setting it up like almost subconsciously inside people's heads, like this is not a place you want to be, not a great place. And finally, we can answer why people are speculating that Promethea will be the main planet for Borderlands 3, which actually comes from Battleborn, crazy enough, which was another game made by Gearbox Software. It was first discovered in the story DLC of Battleborn, that behind a gate in an area in the very background you could see a crudely drawn Promethea, and the A was written as a vault symbol, which is a direct reference to Borderlands as you can get, and we know Gearbox loves Easter eggs, and it's also just a good way to get people in Battleborn to buy the story DLC so they can see the Promethea symbol. So with that, people have obviously taken it as Borderlands 3, and Gearbox knows it too, so they're not coming out to deny it. And because of that, that's what led everyone in the community to dig up all the other information I mentioned above and why Promethea has become so important. Most players thought this would be the only information we would get from Battleborn, but later on there was actually a bigger Easter egg found, which, thanks to fellow YouTuber and friend of the channel, Mental Mars, he helped find and decipher a code from crystals in the game that led to a message, which gives more information about Promethea. Obviously the whole crystal message, I'll link to his video down below if you guys want to see it all explained. But for the sake of the video, how they decipher it really isn't too important. But it was really hard and it took a lot of people. So credit is not on me, definitely all on them. But when they broke down the code, the first line reads, "Visit Promethea." Once again, having Promethea mentioned once could be an accident. Twice is Gearbox confirming that Promethea is the planet. This is gonna be what you should anticipate, and the hub planet, if not the main planet of the game. And also, just for fun, if you guys haven't heard any of the other deciphering messages, I'll read them for you guys. So the rest of the Easter egg for Battleborn reads, quote, "Visit Promethea, children of the vault. We are not on Pandora anymore, and Tannis is not what she seems. Do not open the vaults." Which could mean a lot of different things, but that's also a whole nother video. Do not open the vaults, does that mean everywhere? Does that mean on Promethea? Because at the end of Borderlands 2 we did see all the other vaults in the solar system. But also just what's still inside the Promethea vaults? Are there more than one? If we know Borderlands, most likely there will be more than one, but there's a lot to break down there, and that could be a whole nother video. And before I close out, I think it's cool to talk about the Greek meaning of Prometheus. Not technically Promethea, but they're super connected, especially once you hear the myth. So Prometheus was the Titan who disobeyed the gods and gave fire to humans, which led to advancements and civilization, which parallels exactly kind of what happens in Borderlands 1, almost a one-to-one situation. You know, the Eridians left their technology, which was then found by Atlas, and it led to Atlas having crazy development in research, and they got way ahead of everybody, and led to almost everyone else catching up to them as a result of that. Which is really cool, and it's just awesome that Gearbox has that level of attention to detail, and that a lot of their Greek or Roman mythology actually fits in the game if you know what you're looking for. There's also a little bit more to the myth that then Prometheus was chained to a rock, and some even say Hercules rescued him. So maybe we could see the Eridians imprisoned by someone, maybe by Seraphs, maybe by who knows what. But we could see how this myth plays out, who really knows. There's a lot that could go into that, but that's just the basis of the myth. But with that, you are all caught up with everything you need to know about Promethea going into Borderlands 3 and everything we know in general. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys in the next one.